exciting things happening in the aviation world, one would say, in South Africa, because sitting here today with Flysafair and Elmar Conradie, you're the CFO here.
That's correct.
Why are you going to succeed where others have failed?
I think we've been asked that about 1 million times, and I think we asked ourselves that same question when we started. I think the biggest thing is that we're not a new airline. We're not a startup. We've been in business for 49 years. So the big advantage that we've got is that we already had quite a substantial infrastructure in place. We already have 13 aircraft that we operate. So that's basically already bigger than the fleet that Mango operates. So we had quite a substantial infrastructure to just add on the scheduled passenger service to our airline. A big part of our business is the Hercules operation. We've got 5 of those aircraft that operate, and they fly predominantly freight, but we also do passengers. We've done a lot of work for the local airlines in the past. We flew for all the local airlines. I don't think there's any of them that we didn't fly for in the past. So we did do a lot of passenger operations. A lot of our passengers probably flew with us in the past and didn't even know it, because we were the airline providing this services to the scheduled airlines.
To get this on its feet, you had a lot of opposition. There was opposition to your shareholding,
yes,
the Irish claim.
That's it.
Now, how do we sit today, and how was that satisfied?
Okay, so what happened was this: there's a requirement in the local aviation law for the Licensing Act where 75% of your local voting rights has to be held by South African citizens who are also ordinary residents. And what happened was one of our shareholders that held 25% of the company was a South African citizen. He had property down in the Cape. He came down here still regularly, but at the moment he is working in Ireland. He's not living like day to day here. To be honest, we never thought that there was anything wrong with it. The advice that we got was that based on, and the only precedent we could find at that stage was tax law, was that he would be deemed to be ordinary resident. Yeah, he's even a taxpayer in South Africa. So we thought that it's not an issue. But obviously the court had a much more stricter, they applied, where does he buy his bread and milk? And it was like, he doesn't buy his bread and milk in South Africa, so he's not ordinary resident.
What made you suddenly make that conversion and say, I want to jump into this market? You must have been driven. Was it a passion?
There were a couple of things. The one is, we had for years, we had this theme that we don't take load factor risk. Then with the demise of Velvet, Nationwide, and One Time, we looked at our losses that we incurred through the services that we provided to those airlines, and we said, well, we're taking the risk anyway.
You were chartering to them?
We were leasing to them, providing other services, maintenance, all kinds of different services. So when they went under, we lost just as much money as the banks and AXA and all of these guys. So we looked at it and we said, well, we used to have this, we don't try and own the end customer, but if we're going to lose money every time anyway, we might as well try and do it ourselves, and we think we can do it ourselves, so let's do it.
Love to fly? Now you can, on South Africa's true low-cost airline, from Cape Town to Joburg and Port Elizabeth. Flysafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za.
Why can you say you're a low-cost airline?
Okay.
Are you really?
Okay, I want to answer that twofold. The one is the whole definition of a low-cost airline. Often there's the misconception that a low-cost airline means it's a low-fare airline, which you do try and do, and I'll get to the fares just now, but the low-cost actually refers to your cost base. So with the low-cost, what we're trying to do is to work the aeroplanes really hard, to have a schedule where we fly them as many hours a day, so that we can get the most production out of the aeroplane and keep our costs as low as possible. That's our cost, so what we spend to keep the aeroplanes in the air. If we have the lowest costs, we can offer the lowest fares. So then we get to the fares. What's important to realize with the low-cost airline model is that it doesn't mean we'll always be the cheapest. But what we do try and do is we try and reward the guy that books early. So it works on supply and demand. You'll start at very low prices between Johannesburg and Cape Town, for example. 499 Rand. So now immediately people will go onto the website and they'll say, oh, but we can't find the 499 Rand. The 499 Rand is there if you book long in advance. So at the moment, for example, you'll find the 499 fares January, February, March, April. You'll find them those months. If you book for tomorrow, you're not going to find 499 fares. The low-cost airline only works if we fly the aeroplanes full. So we start early and we sell the tickets as low as possible. So we sell them low,
Yeah.
and then we fill up to 70%. But where we really make the money is that last 30%. If we drop that last 30% back to 499, everybody will wait. So you won't have the guys booking early. The guy that books long in advance, he plans his holiday and he plans his travel. And he's also very cost aware.
What about the businessman? He can't always do that.
The business guy can't do that, but he will travel. I won't say no matter what the price is, but he will travel at a more expensive price. And that's where the airline makes their money, is through that yield management, by trying to the broad spectrum of all passengers. If we sell to the guys that can afford to pay 2,000 Rand, we can't sell the tickets at 499. So if we, for example, went to the market and just sold all our tickets at 1,200 Rand between Cape Town and Johannesburg, you would actually sell less tickets, because everybody that's used to buying tickets at 499, 599, 699 will fall out of the market. The guys that can afford to pay more than 1,000 Rand, they'll still fly, and you'll still have that market, but you lose everybody below that sort of level. So you try and offer everybody a fare where they can fly at. But the catch is, the low fares are only available long beforehand.
But there comes the point where, and I think this is what annoys the consumer, that all of a sudden the Christmas times, the Easter times, the Cape Argus and so on, and all the big events that go on, the rugby matches, miraculously the fares go way up at that time.
It's actually not so...
It seems a little bit naughty to do that. It's like punishing somebody for wanting to use your airline.
Well, there were guys that booked on our airline that booked over Christmas, over the high season at 499. But they were the guys that booked early. When we launched on the 28th of July, and still, when we open our flights, on every flight there are those fares. They're without exception on all of our flights. Then what happens is it goes into, we call it buckets. So immediately your price goes into the next bucket because those seats are sold out. Then those seats are sold out, you go into the next bucket. And so it goes up until you're at those high prices. And unfortunately, we have to do that to survive. One of the principles we also brought from Europe is that you don't get a bag in the price. Now, initially we were a little bit apprehensive about it because especially the South African passengers they're used to getting everything, the SAAs type of thing, you get everything in your price. But to get that low pricing into the market, we had to say, well, we need to unbundle our prices completely. So if you're coming up to Johannesburg for a day and you don't bring a bag, then why am I charging you for a bag? And we thought we're going to get a massive lashback about that, how can you do that? And in fact, we've had the opposite. We've had people that say, this is great, because I don't travel with a bag, I travel for a day, so I'm getting that discount on my ticket. So even families that travel, they sort of now think about it twice, and they say, well, instead of taking 5 bags, let's take 2 bags. I'm sure we can fit everything in 2 bags, and we save some money. It saves us money, and you don't pay for something you don't want.
Food and drink on board?
Yes, it's same principle as the other low-cost airlines. So at the moment, we're only offering dry food, so not sandwiches and stuff like that. As soon as we're up to our full schedule, we'll add the sandwiches and stuff like that on board. Let's
talk about safety and servicing. Who does that?
We service our aircraft ourselves. We've been doing it for 49 years. We are IOSA certified. We get audited by the CIA, including a couple of other civil aviation authorities. The aeroplanes that we just flew in Europe for Ryanair for 2 months, met all their standards, safety standards. So The aircraft came out of Australia where they met all the safety standards. So I mean, we just keep on maintaining the aircraft the same way we've always maintained all our aircraft.
What lies in the future? What can we expect from Flysafair?
Well, I mean, in the immediate future, our biggest aim is to try and focus on the service delivery. I think it's one of the few things that we can focus on. We can do price, but I guess it will be a matter of time before the other guys follow the pricing strategy.
Where will you move to? I mean, at the moment it's Cape Town, Durban,
Yes.
Johannesburg. That's it.
Yeah, so at the moment we're based in Cape Town, and then we fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg 4 times a day and back. Then we're doing Port Elizabeth from tomorrow, 2 times a day, and then from Cape Town, and then from Cape Town to George once a day, from the 13th of November. The next route is basically to try and connect the dots on those routes probably. Durban will be in our future plans, but it's a very heavily contested route. I mean, we're looking at all the routes. We've got a couple of routes that we want to develop. Cape Town George, for example, is one of those developmental routes. It's not an established route. It's not a traditional low-cost route, if I can put it that way. So I don't think we would sort of go after more than one at a particular point in time. We'll try that one as a sort of trailblazer route, see how it works out, try and establish the route there, and then we'll go on to the next one.
And what about the rest of the African continent? Because there is a lot of movement between the rest of Africa and South Africa these days.
Yes. Again, what we'll try and do is first to bed down the operations in South Africa, that runs 100%. We're not happy with the service levels yet. The service levels are good, but we want it to be really, really good, so we'll focus on that first. We are looking at regional routes, so connecting neighbouring countries to South Africa. But it's a whole different ball game, and you get involved with things like bilaterals, and so we would look at that in the future. We first need to establish a good base in South Africa.
Love to fly? Now you can. From Cape Town to Joburg from $4.99 and Cape Town to Port Elizabeth from $3.99. Flysafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za.